A woman in Mississippi charged with trying to join ISIS now will learn her fate in federal court today. Jalen Young and her fiancé arrested last August trying to board a plane for Istanbul. In a farewell letter to her family, Young told them of her plans to join the terror group. Now, she pled guilty to a terrorism charge in March, faces up to 20 years in jail. Her fiancé also pleading guilty to a similar charge. He'll be sentenced later this month.
And more now on that bombshell report from a House task force. It suggests top intelligence officials manipulated documents to make it seem like the fight against ISIS was going better than it really was. Well, we spoke to General Jack Keane last hour, and he says this isn't something to be taken lightly. Listen.
This is dead serious. And the reason is you have senior leaders in Central Command, which is the command for our viewers understand, that oversees the Middle East, and particularly the wars that we're fighting there in Afghanistan and Iraq. And those senior leaders in the Intelligence Directorate were manipulating these reports so that they'd be more favorable. And the outcome of that was not just in the intelligence reports that went out to the chain of command, but it found its way into press releases, into press conferences, and into General Austin's public testimony before the Senate and the House. So this is very, very serious.
Republican Congressman Mike Pompeo, who's a member of this task force, is joining us now live. Congressman, thanks for being here.
It's great to be with you. Good morning.
So you heard that there from General Jack Keane saying this is dead serious. My question to you off the top, is all of this real? Is everything in this report accurate?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It is. The task force, myself and two of my colleagues in the conference, have been working on this for a long time. We've interviewed dozens of witnesses, looked at lots of documents, and what became very clear was that senior analysts were providing data up to the very top of the intelligence community inside of CENTCOM, and they were changing that data. They were politicizing it, manipulating it, making it look like America was being more successful against ISIS than we really were. And the results of that for our soldiers on the ground are potentially deadly. If we don't understand what's really going on, you can't fight this war properly. They were manipulating intelligence in a way that put our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines at risk.
Well, the next question then is why? What is the incentive for the administration to want to paint a rosier picture? Because you think this goes back to, 2014 when things weren't looking so great. Aren't they wanting all the resources they can get to fight ISIS? What is the incentive to make things look better than they really are?
The culture inside of this administration is one that bad news doesn't sell well. And they wanted to tell a story that ISIS was the JV, that we had Al-Qaeda on the run. And so everyone in the administration understood that the story that you wanted to tell to your leaders, if you wanted to get promoted, if you wanted to be successful, was one of success. And so they would talk about ISIS being on the defensive just before they take Mosul. These are the kind of things that get people killed. This is incredibly dangerous. We haven't seen this kind of manipulation of intelligence, tactical and military intelligence, in an awfully long time. And it's a direct result of the culture from a White House and an administration that didn't want to confront this, didn't want to tell the American people, did not want to tell Congress about what was really going on and the resources that were going to be required to fight this fight.
Well, and this isn't necessarily new. We have heard contradicting reports for some time now from members of the administration. This comes, over a year ago. General Lloyd Austin spoke within 10 days of Director John Brennan, both talking about where we are in this fight against ISIS. Listen to how different their messages are.
The fact is that he can no longer do what he did at the outset, which is to seize and to hold new territory. He has assumed a defensive crouch in Iraq.
ISIL is well armed and well financed. Its fighters are disciplined, committed, and battle-hardened. Left unchecked, the group would pose a serious danger not only to Syria and Iraq, but to the wider region and beyond, including the threat of attacks in the homeland of the United States and the homelands of our partners.
So what General Austin said in that first clip, that ISIS could no longer do what they were originally capable of doing, we had General Jack Keane on earlier. He said that comment there is probably one of the most dangerous.
I think that's right. Director Brennan actually captured what was really going on the ground. This highlights and confirms what we found in our effort as part of the task force, that they consistently manipulated data to make it look more rosy than it really was. They didn't tell their own soldiers, they didn't tell America, they didn't tell Congress the truth about the growing risk from ISIS. And the facts on the ground bore out that every time they changed the information, or at least nearly every time, They got it wrong. They got it wrong in one direction, a direction which made it look like America was being more successful against this threat from radical Islamic extremism.
And you wonder how far this goes up the chain. Congressman Pompeo, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right, we now want to bring in Iraq and Afghanistan veteran and our colleague, Pete Hegseth. Pete, thanks for being here. First, just your response off the top of this report. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. But when you politicize intelligence, people get killed and wars are prolonged. And so this is as bad as it gets, because ultimately we've got warfighters on the ground in Iraq trying to help local forces there defeat and crush ISIS, and we're giving a rosy picture to our military leaders and our president that's disconnected from the reality on the ground. Now we know why what president was saying from the podium is so different from what was happening on the ground, because even he was hearing a different story, and he created that culture, because these wars have been run by the NSC, by the National Security Council, which is very tied to the White House and not as tied to the Pentagon, so there have been half-truths from the beginning. And this is just confirmation of it.
Well, when it comes to who's making these changes at CENTCOM, these are not low-level analysts, Pete. I mean, we heard from Mike Pompeo, and he was quoted as saying the changes were made at the senior level here. How dangerous is that? And the question is, how far does that go up the chain? Is it possible that President Obama may have known about this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's highly unlikely that President Obama said change those viewpoints, but he can always put whatever spin he wants on it. I remember when we first learned about this disconnect, it was low-level analysts at the ground who said, we're pumping up intelligence up the chain that talks about how dangerous ISIS is, and it's not coming out in the reports that we're seeing high up. So, you know, listen, military leaders can become politicized, and they're susceptible to pressure, too. We don't want to believe it can happen, but it can, and they usually do so because they're being told we need to make progress, but maybe they don't have the resources. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they don't have a president that truly supports their mission. So they're trying to get done where they can, what they can. I don't know where the blame lies, but someone should be fired over something like this.
Well, all right. We'll leave it there. Pete Hegseth, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Come on that. 21 past. Trump is back on the stump in a matter of minutes, live in Miami, Florida. We're watching that event for you. Plus, in light of this new report, Trump laying the blame for ISIS at the doorstep of President Obama and Hillary Clinton.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS.